World History Discussions, Chapter 8, Part 5. We talked about the philosophies of Taoism and Confucianism, but there's one more philosophy that emerged in the Warring States period, and that was legalism. Look at that. Looks like they're beating somebody up for stealing wire. And yes, I saw this when I was in China, and thankfully I never saw anybody get beat up or arrested or anything, but legalism is basically, I would argue, fascism. But that's what they called it, legalism. Basically make people fear the punishment. So that's a picture of somebody stealing copper wires. I was on a walk right outside of Dolly when I saw this. There are a few of these ads and basically saying that if you steal the wires, the punishment is severe, like you're gonna get your butt beaten, basically. But anyway, this is the philosophy that would eventually unify China, and you can see the Qin Empire there. But before we get into the Qin Empire, let's talk a little bit about legalism. So legalists devoted all their energy exclusively to the state, which they sought to strengthen and expand. The first two legalists were Shangyang, who lived from 390 to 338 BCE, and Han Feizi, who lived from 280 to 233 BCE. Shangyang was a chief minister for the Duke of Qin in western China. Go figure. Both of these are in the Qin part of the Warring States, whose policies survive today in the Book of Lord Shang. However, he was feared due to his power and ruthlessness, and when his patron, the Duke of Qin, died, Shangyang's enemies at the court executed him, mutilated his body, and annihilated his family. Han Feizi, who lived from 280 to 233 BCE, was a student of the Confucian scholar Xunzi that we just talked about a couple discussions back. He synthesized all legalist ideas in a collection of powerful essays on statecraft. Like Shangyang, Han Feizi advised the Qin court, and also like Shangyang, he died at the hands of other ambitious men who forced him to take poison. Are you noticing something? These legalists are brutal, and their brutality does not end very well. It tends to end in a brutal death. Sounds like what Jesus says in the Bible. He who lives by the sword will also die by the sword. But anyway, the legalist belief is that a state's strength lies in its agriculture and its military. And as a result, legalists tried to get as many people as possible to pursue agriculture or military careers rather than being merchants and scholars and educators and philosophers. Laws were clear and strict. If people feared the punishment, they wouldn't commit small crimes, and they definitely wouldn't commit large crimes. For example, simply disposing ashes in the street could get one's hand cut off. This reminds me of the guy in Singapore back in the 90s who did the spray paint and got caned as a result. Remember that? And there was that parody of the Crash Test Dummies song, and once there was this kid who went away to Singapore and brought a can of spray paint. Don't remember the rest of the song, but basically that's legalism, aka fascism, to basically very harsh punishments for minor crimes. Collective responsibility was also emphasized, where the whole family could be punished for one individual's wrongdoing. Although legalism did not win much support and was not very popular, it was legalism that would bring an end to the Warring States period. I'm looking for that map of the Warring States, and I'll show it in the very next discussion when we talk about the Qin Empire, which is here. But basically, finally in 221 BCE, the Qin dynasty brought unity back to China. And so now we've talked about the three philosophies, including my least favorite, legalism, that dominated the Qin dynasty. And you're going to see that things don't end well for the Qin dynasty either. Spoiler alert, Qin Shi Huangdi dies 11 years after coming to power, dies in 210 BCE, and the empire completely collapses in 207 BCE. Luckily, the Hans were more Confucianist and less legalist, and they were a good deal more successful. And those are the two classical China empires we're about to study. Woo!